The palace of the alien queen stood silent. Wind moved through broken windows, carrying the smell of dust and burnt metal. Once this place was full of light, silver banners on tall walls, the sound of alien music, and the voice of their proud queen. Now, it was empty. Like a tomb, Elias stepped inside slowly. His boots echoed across the marble floor, each step heavy and alone. He was human, the only one left in this part of the galaxy. His uniform was torn, his armor cracked, and a rifle hung across his chest. He looked around, and the huge hall was covered with ash. The royal throne stood at the far end, broken in half. He whispered to himself, "Everyone's gone." His voice bounced off the empty walls. Outside, the sky burned orange. The war had ended, but not in peace. Both sides had destroyed each other. The human army had pulled back, and the alien forces had vanished into the stars. But Elias, he stayed. He walked deeper into the palace. He passed statues of alien warriors, all cracked and headless. On the floor lay shattered jewels and weapons that once shined with royal power. The silence felt alive, like the palace was watching him. Elias stopped when he saw the queen's flag lying on the ground. He bent down and lifted it with his gloved hand. The silver fabric was torn, but the royal crest amid a glowing blue sun still shimmered faintly. He remembered the queen's last order before the final battle. "Protect the future, soldier." Even if the stars fall, he had promised her that. That's why he was still here. He touched the crest and whispered, "I'm still protecting, Your Majesty." A small noise made him turn fast. Click. His rifle pointed toward the shadows near the stairway. He waited, breathing slow. The echo came again, a soft metallic creak like a door opening somewhere below. He frowned. "No one should be here," he muttered. Slowly, he moved down the stairs. The halls below were darker, lit only by the faint blue glow from alien crystals on the walls. The air was colder here. Dust floated in the beams of light like ghosts. He remembered the war. Explosions, screams. The queen standing tall on the balcony while fire rained from the sky. He had seen her ship fall, but no body was ever found. Some said she escaped. Others said she turned to light. No one really knew, but something about this palace still felt alive. As Elias moved deeper, his flashlight flickered. The battery was dying. He hit the side of the light. It flashed again, showing strange alien writing carved on the walls. Symbols glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. He didn't understand the language, but it felt like the palace was warning him. Then he heard it. A whisper, very soft, a voice not his own. "You shouldn't be here, human." Elias froze. His rifle came up again, finger on the trigger. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer. Only silence and the drip of water from the ceiling. He moved forward, following the direction of the voice. The passage opened into a large underground hall, a place he had never seen before. The walls were smooth silver, untouched by war. In the center stood a door made of black glass, covered in glowing blue veins. Elias stepped closer. The temperature dropped. His breath turned to mist. On the door was the queen's royal seal, but older, more ancient. He touched it gently, and the symbol flickered. The door made a low hum. Something inside the wall responded. A faint heartbeat sound echoed, and slow, deep, alive, he whispered, "Is someone here?" The heartbeat sound grew faster. Lights along the floor turned on by themselves, leading toward the black door. It was like the palace was inviting him in. Elias tightened his grip on the rifle. He didn't like this, but curiosity, and duty had pushed him forward. He placed his hand flat on the seal. The black glass rippled like water. Then suddenly it cracked open. A blast of cold air rushed out, smelling of metal and blood. His flashlight shined through the gap, and what he saw inside made his breath stop. There was a pod. A large metallic one, half buried in the floor. Frost covered it. The glass front was fogged, but a shadow moved inside. Small, human-shaped. Elias stepped closer, slowly wiping the glass with his hand. Through the frost he saw her, a girl. Her skin was pale silver, her hair long and white, floating inside the pod. Tiny lights blinked on the machine, dying, fading. The power was almost gone. His eyes widened. "Is that the queen's daughter?" He looked around. The place was untouched by war, sealed for years. Maybe the queen hid her here before the fall. Maybe this was the future he was told to protect. He checked the pod controls. alien symbols blinking red. Life support low. If power ended, she would die. He looked at her sleeping face. She seemed peaceful, fragile. Something in his chest tightened, the same feeling he had when he failed to save his squad. He whispered, "Not this time." Then he began searching for a power source, working quickly, reconnecting old cables and switches. Sparks flew, the lights flickered, and the machine hummed back to life. The pod's lights turned green. Inside, the girl's eyes moved, faintly opening. Two glowing silver eyes looked right at him. She whispered, weak but clear, "If they find me alive, they'll burn this world again." Elias stepped back in shock, rifle still ready, heart pounding. The palace was no longer empty. Elias couldn't move. The silver-eyed alien girl inside the pod stared at him like a dream, slowly waking up. Her lips trembled. The pod's frost cracked and melted around her, steam rising in soft curls. The hum of old machines filled the air, low and ghostly. He took a slow step closer. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe now." The girl blinked, her gaze sharp yet weak. "Safe?" she whispered. "No one is safe here." Her voice echoed strangely, beautiful but full of pain. Elias looked around the room again. The walls of the hidden chamber glowed faint blue, symbols pulsing like living veins. He could feel something beneath his feet, a slow vibration, like a heartbeat coming from deep under the palace. He asked, "Who are you?" She closed her eyes for a moment before answering, "Lyra, daughter of Queen Althea." Elias froze. The name hit him like a shock. The Queen's daughter? The one rumored to have vanished during the fall of the Empire? The war had been fought for her mother's death, for this family's power. And now the last royal heir was alive, right in front of him. Lyra coughed weakly, her hands thin and trembling, pressed against the glass. "The energy core is failing," she whispered. "If it dies, I die with it." Elias quickly checked the control panel again. Sparks flickered. The old power lines barely held. He ripped a cable from his broken communicator and patched it into the pod's terminal. The light steadied, humming brighter. Lyra gasped as color returned to her cheeks. Elias sighed with relief. That should hold for now. She studied him. The human uniform, the scars on his face, the calm eyes that had seen too much. "Why, are you here?" she asked quietly. He didn't look at her. "Because I made a promise." "Promises," she said bitterly, "killed my people." Elias didn't reply. He was checking the exits, always alert. Above them he could hear faint mechanical sounds. Drones, maybe, searching the ruins. The palace was waking up in more ways than one. Lyra's eyes softened a little. "You were one of Mother's soldiers, weren't you?" Elias nodded once. "Yes, she trusted me. And I failed her." Lyra's voice trembled. "Then why save me?" He looked straight at her. "Because she said protect the future. And now, I know she meant you." The silence that followed was heavy, full of sadness, memory, and strange new trust. Lyra pressed a hand to the inside of the glass. "The chamber is not safe. The old systems are connected to the war network. If they sense royal blood active again..." Elias finished her sentence quietly. "They'll come." A deep rumble passed through the floor as if the palace itself agreed. Somewhere above, a metal door slammed shut. The old defense systems had awakened. He moved fast. "We're leaving." Lyra shook her head weakly. "I can't walk yet. The pod kept me frozen too long." Elias knelt beside the pod, examining the control locks. "Then I'll carry you." She looked shocked. "You would risk that? For me?" He gave a half smile. "Ma'am, I've already stayed behind when everyone else ran. I think I can handle this." He pressed a sequence on the pod. With a hiss, the top slid open. Cold vapor spilled out, covering the floor in mist. Elias lifted Lyra gently. She was lighter than he expected, fragile like glass. As he carried her toward the hall, blue lights along the walls flickered, one by one turning red. Alarms began to hum softly, warning of intruders. Lyra whispered, "They've detected movement. The palace remembers enemies." Elias adjusted his grip and said, "Then let's remind it we're not enemies." He moved through the narrow tunnels, his rifle strapped to his back, his arms holding the last hope of an alien empire. The corridor opened into a staircase leading to the Queen's private hall, untouched, perfectly clean, as if time itself avoided this place. The walls were covered with glowing murals showing the Queen's life, her rise, her love for peace, her fall in flames. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she saw her mother's image again. She tried to stop the war, she said softly. She wanted to protect both our worlds. But her own generals betrayed her. Elias frowned. The council blamed the humans. Yes, she said. They lied. They said humans wanted our throne. But truth is, she paused, her voice barely above a whisper. They feared you. Feared us? Elias asked. Your courage, Lyra said. Your refusal to obey fear. It scared them more than any weapon. Her words lingered in the air like a secret truth buried for years. Suddenly, thunk. A noise came from the corridor behind them. Elias set Lyra down gently and aimed his rifle toward the darkness. The sound grew louder, metal scraping against stone. A drone rolled out of the shadows, eyes glowing red. It scanned the area, then locked onto Lyra. Royal signature detected, it said in a cold mechanical voice. Terminate. Elias didn't hesitate. Bang. One clean shot, the drone fell smoking. But more voices echoed through the halls now. The system had fully reactivated. Lyra clutched his sleeve. They'll send more. Elias nodded. Then we move fast. He carried her again, sprinting toward a hidden door she directed him to. A secret lift leading deeper underground. As it closed, explosions echoed above. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. You don't even know me, yet you fight like you've always known me. Elias smiled tiredly. Maybe I don't need to know. Maybe this is what humans do. As the lift descended into darkness, she whispered, You're different from what they told us. He looked at her gently. So are you. The lift stopped. The door opened to a strange new chamber, filled with glowing spheres and alien energy lines that pulsed like stars trapped underground. Lyra whispered, awed and afraid. This is the Queen's heart. Her last defense. Elias raised his rifle, scanning the dark. Then let's find out what's still alive down here. The chamber lights flickered, guys, and something ancient began to wake. The elevator stopped with a low, metallic groan. Elias raised his rifle first, scanning the darkness ahead. A cold mist drifted across the chamber floor, glowing faintly with green light. The air smelled old, like iron, dust, and something forgotten for centuries. Lyra leaned weakly against the wall beside him. Her silver eyes adjusted fast to the dim light. This place, it's older than the palace itself, she whispered. Elias stepped forward carefully. What is this place? She pressed her hand to the wall. Strange glowing veins of blue light spread under her touch. My mother called it the Queen's heart. It holds memories of every battle fought for our world. All that pain, it's stored here, Elias frowned. Memories? Like a record? No, Lyra said softly. Like ghosts. As soon as she spoke, the mist thickened. The floor trembled lightly. Then faint shapes appeared, shimmering figures made of light and smoke. At first, Elias thought they were holograms. But then one of the figures turned its face and screamed silently. A soldier. An alien, burning. The vision faded. Another replaced it. Humans and aliens fighting side by side, both dying in flames. The echoes of their deaths whispered through the air. Not quite voices, not quite silence. Lyra closed her eyes, tears rolling down her cheeks. They never left. Their energy feeds the heart. That's how the palace remembers the war. Elias's grip on his rifle tightened. Can they hurt us? She shook her head. Not unless we wake the memories too deeply. He moved closer to her. Then stay behind me. These ghosts aren't my friends either. As they walked through the hall, the walls came alive with moving lights, battle scenes replaying in slow motion. Elias saw his own kind, humans, standing shoulder to shoulder with aliens. He saw bravery, betrayal, and endless blood. A small holographic flare appeared near his boots. It showed an alien general shouting into a comm. Fall back! Protect the Queen. The humans are breaking through. The image froze mid-sentence, then shattered into dust. Elias muttered under his breath. I was there. I remember that day. Lyra looked at him with new curiosity. You fought for her? He nodded. We all did. She wanted peace. We wanted it too. He paused. But not everyone agreed. Lyra's voice softened. My mother said the same thing. She said peace is heavier than war, because it needs stronger hearts. Elias looked at her. She was right. For a moment there was silence, and the kind that carried respect. Then the mist shifted again. This time the ghosts formed a different scene, a throne room. A tall alien woman, the queen herself, standing before a human soldier. Elias froze. It was him. The ghostly queen said, "Protect the future, soldier, even if the stars fall." The echo of her words filled the chamber again, just as they did the day she died. Elias swallowed hard. His throat tightened. "That's impossible." Lyra looked at him, eyes wide. "The heart keeps everything that touched it. You were bound to it through her." He touched his chest, where his dog tag rested under his armor. It felt warm, pulsing softly, as if answering the memory. Then the ground rumbled. The lights on the walls flashed red. Lyra gasped. "You stayed too long. The heart thinks we are intruders." Elias grabbed her hand. "Move!" They ran through the corridors as walls began to twist, shifting like living metal. Doors slammed shut behind them. Energy bolts sparked in the air. From the mist, armored ghost soldiers emerged, not alive, not dead. Their glowing eyes followed the movement of Lyra's royal mark. Elias fired a burst from his rifle, but the bullets passed through them like smoke. The ghosts roared silently, rushing closer. Lyra raised her hand. Blue light burst from her palm, forming a shield of pure energy. The ghosts hit it screaming, dissolving into white sparks. She fell to her knees, trembling. "I can't hold it long." Elias pulled her up, holding her steady. "You're doing fine. Just a little more." They reached a narrow bridge across a glowing pit. The ghost swirled below like a storm of light and shadow. Halfway across, Lyra stumbled. The shield flickered. A ghostly hand grabbed her ankle, cold and sharp like ice. She screamed. Elias fired again, uselessly, then dropped his gun and pulled her free with both hands. "You're not dying here." The bridge shook violently. He threw her across to the other side and barely jumped before it collapsed behind him. They lay there, breathing hard. The ghosts howled below, fading slowly into the pit. After a long moment, silence returned. The heart calmed. The blue lights dimmed. Lyra whispered, voice shaking, "It let us go." Elias nodded, exhausted. Maybe it saw we weren't the enemy. He stood, offering her his hand. She took it. Their eyes met, human and alien, both haunted by the same war. Lyra spoke softly. "You still carry their memories." He replied, "So do you. Maybe that's why we're still alive." She gave a small, tired smile. "My mother used to say, 'The dead test the living to see who deserves the dawn.'" Elias looked around the now quiet chamber. "Then I guess we just passed." Suddenly, a faint voice crackled through his radio, static, then words. "Human life signs detected in lower chambers. All units converge." Lyra's face turned pale. "They found us." Elias picked up his rifle and checked the chamber. "Then we keep moving." "Where?" she asked. He pointed ahead. A faint blue light glowed at the end of the tunnel. "Wherever that leads." As they walked toward it, the walls around them whispered one last ghostly sentence, more the voice of the queen herself. "If she still walks, protect her, Elias, until the stars remember peace." He froze for a heartbeat, then whispered, "I will," and together, they stepped into the light. The sound came first, deep, distant, and angry. Engines. Elias looked up as the ceiling dust rained down. The ground trembled. Far above, the quiet palace that had slept for years was waking again, not because of ghosts this time, but because something alive was coming. Lyra pressed her hand against the cold wall. Her face turned pale. "They found us," she whispered. "Who?" Elias asked, checking his rifle. "The hunters," she said softly. "Half human, half alien mercenaries. They work for whoever pays them to kill royal blood." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then let them come." He started climbing the metal stairs leading back toward the surface. His footsteps echoed, steady, fearless. Lyra followed, clutching a small glowing crystal she had taken from the queen's heart. It pulsed softly, reacting to her presence. When they reached the upper hall, the air smelled of smoke. A low wind pushed through the broken windows. Outside, the sky was no longer empty. It burned orange with descending ships. Elias looked out. 5 black ships hovered above the ruins, their lights sweeping across the palace. He saw movement, armored figures landing in formation. Lyra whispered, "They came for me. My blood is like a signal." Elias reloaded his rifle with the last full magazine. "Then we turn off the signal." She gave him a small, scared smile. You can't stop what's already coming. He looked at her calmly. I can slow it down. He moved fast, dragging broken tables, overturned thrones, and shattered marble to block the doors. The palace that had once been royal and golden now became a fortress of ruin. Lyra watched him work. Every movement was sharp, focused. His armor creaked, his face was calm, but his eyes burned like a soldier who had already died once and come back just to finish the fight. Why do you fight like this? She asked quietly. He didn't stop. Because I promised, she tilted her head. To my mother? He nodded. And now, to you. Outside, the hunters were moving closer, their boots crunching on the broken marble of the palace courtyard. Their leader, a tall hybrid with metallic wings, raised his weapon and shouted through his helmet speaker. Human soldier, you are outnumbered. Surrender the princess and your death will be quick. Elias answered by firing a single shot that hit the hunter's shoulder plate. Sparks flew, the leader laughed. So be it. The attack began. Windows shattered as plasma fire poured into the hall. Elias ducked behind a pillar, returning precise shots, 1, 2, 3. Every pull of the trigger echoed through the empty palace like thunder. He hit 2 hunters cleanly in the neck joints. Their armor fell silent. Lyra hid behind the fallen throne, whispering in her own language. The crystal in her hand glowed brighter, responding to her voice. Strange energy lines crawled across the floor, old royal defenses waking up from sleep. Elias shouted, Whatever you're doing, do it faster. I'm trying, she cried. A grenade rolled across the floor. Elias saw it, dove forward, grabbed it, and threw it back out the window just in time. The explosion rocked the outside yard, scattering the hunters for a moment. He ran to Lyra, smoke and dust swirling around them. You okay? She nodded shakily. The palace. It's remembering me. The ground beneath them glowed with blue lines forming the queen's symbol. Suddenly, invisible barriers rose around the hall, ancient force shields snapping alive. Elias grinned. Now that's what I call teamwork. The hunters fired at the barrier. The shots ricocheted harmlessly, but they were smart. Instead of forcing entry, they began circling the palace, cutting through the old walls with plasma saws. Elias moved to a higher balcony. His rifle scope tracked their movement. They're splitting up. 2 on the east wall, 3 coming from the tower side. Lyra's hands shook as she tried to control the palace systems. I can hold the shield for a while, but not forever. He aimed carefully. 1 shot. 1 kill. The first hunter dropped. Another turned toward him. Elias switched position instantly, shooting from another angle. He moved like a ghost, always 2 steps ahead. Below, Lyra stared at him, not as a soldier now, but as something else. Someone willing to stand between her and an army, someone who didn't belong to her world but fought as if he did. A loud crash shook the air. The hunters had broken through the side entrance. Plasma bolts filled the hall. Elias rolled behind a fallen statue, returning fire. Sparks danced across the floor. Lyra screamed, Behind you! He turned, too late. A hunter tackled him from behind, slamming him into the ground. The rifle slid across the floor. The hybrid raised a blade hand, glowing red-hot. Elias grabbed the hunter's wrist, muscles straining. The blade came closer to his throat, inches away. Then Lyra screamed in her language again, and the crystal exploded with light. The hunter froze, body shaking violently, armor cracking. Elias kicked him off, grabbed his rifle, and fired point blank. The creature fell, dead. Elias leaned on the pillar, breathing hard. His armor smoked, his arm bleeding from a cut. Lyra ran to him, eyes wide. You're hurt. He smiled faintly. Nothing new. More hunters moved in outside. He could hear their leader shouting orders. The palace shield flickered, dying. Lyra's hands glowed again as she pressed them to the floor, trying to keep the energy alive. I can't hold it. They're too many. Elias looked around, thinking fast. Then his eyes landed on the giant royal chandelier above. It still hung heavy, full of old fuel crystals. He raised his rifle and aimed at the chain. Then let's even the odds. Lyra shouted. Elias, no. He fired. Crack. The chandelier fell, smashing into the main gate with a burst of light and dust. The explosion threw hunters backward, breaking the palace doors and setting the entire hall on fire. Elias grabbed Lyra's arm. Now we run. They rushed through the smoke toward the back corridor. Fire roared behind them. the palace glowing red and blue together, chaos and beauty. As they reached the secret stairway, Elias looked back once more. Through the flames, the hunter leader stood again, wings burning but eyes still cold. He pointed his sword toward them and shouted, "You can't hide forever, human. She belongs to us," Elias smirked. "Not while I'm still breathing." He shut the metal gate. The flames swallowed the hall behind them. Smoke still covered the palace ruins. The flames had faded, but the air was heavy with the smell of burned metal and blood. Elias sat against a cracked wall, breathing hard. His rifle rested beside him. His armor was broken. His shoulder bled slowly through torn fabric. Every movement hurt, but his eyes stayed sharp. Lyra knelt beside him, her silver hair tangled and face pale. "You're losing blood," she whispered. He tried to smile. "I've lost worse." She touched his wound carefully. Her fingers glowed faint blue. Elias tensed as he felt warmth spread through his skin, the pain fading like melting ice. He looked down. The wound was closing, leaving a faint silver mark. "What did you do?" "Nanite healing," she said softly. "Royal tech." "From my mother's line. It only works when shared through trust." He met her eyes. "So, you trust me?" Lyra looked away. "I think I stopped having a choice the moment you refused to leave me behind." The palace groaned again as distant thunder rolled above. They both knew it wasn't thunder. It was ships, more hunters arriving. Elias reloaded his rifle. "We'll have more company soon." Lyra frowned. "You can't fight them all." He stood up, ignoring the pain. "Doesn't matter. I'll fight until you're safe." Her voice rose. "Why? You don't even know me." "You could run. You could save yourself." He looked at her quietly, his voice steady. "Because I made a promise to your mother. To protect the future." Lyra stepped closer. Her silver eyes glimmered like tears in light. "And what about your future, human?" He smiled faintly. "This is it." For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was heavy with something deeper than words. Respect, grief, and something close to warmth. Then Lyra did something he didn't expect. She pulled a small dagger from her belt, made of crystal and light. She cut her own palm slightly. Silver blood shimmered in the dim light. "What are you doing?" Elias asked, alarmed. "This," she whispered, "is the ancient vow of my people. When one gives their life for another, we share blood as equals." She held the dagger toward him. "If you truly wish to protect me, take the blood oath. After this, your fate will be tied to mine. If I die, you die. If I live, you live." Elias stared at her for a moment. Then, without hesitation, he took the blade and made a shallow cut across his palm. Red blood met silver. Lyra pressed her hand against his. Their mixed blood glowed with white light. She whispered in her native tongue, the words ancient, melodic, and sad. "Two lives, one promise. Between stars and shadows we stand together." The light pulsed once, then faded, leaving only the warmth of their joined hands. Elias felt something inside him shift, not pain, but connection. A quiet pulse echoed in his chest that matched hers. Lyra looked up at him. "Now you are bound to me, my guardian." He gave a small proud nod. "Then let's make it count." Before either could say more, the palace walls shook again. A deep rumbling sound rolled through the halls. Lyra gasped. "They're here. The hunters found the queen's heart. They're trying to destroy it." Elias checked his rifle. "Then we stop them before they destroy the last memory of your people." They ran together through the burning corridors. The once golden halls were now blackened, glowing only with faint blue lines under the floor. Sparks rained from broken machines. As they entered the lower hall, they saw it. The hunter's leader standing at the center of the queen's heart chamber, his wings now mechanical claws digging into the glowing floor. He laughed when he saw them. So the princess survived. And the human pet still follows. Elias aimed his rifle. "Step away from the core." The leader smirked. "Or what, you'll shoot me with that old weapon?" "Yesham," Elias said, "probably." He fired 3 precise shots. The first 2 hit armor. The third struck the hunter's left eye. The creature screamed, stumbling back, one wing shattered. Lyra raised her hand, sending a surge of blue energy toward the machines. The queen's heart responded, glowing brighter, filling the hall with ghostly images of the fallen. The hunter laughed even as he burned. "You think this will save you?" You'll die with her! Elias didn't stop firing until the hunter fell silent. Smoke filled the room. Then the heart pulsed again, brighter than before. Lyra stepped forward, her body surrounded by its light. Elias, she said softly. My mother's voice. It's calling, he frowned. What do you mean? The Queen's heart is opening the way. There's a starship buried under the palace, our last ship. My mother hid it for this moment. Elias lowered his rifle. Then that's our way out, Lyra nodded. But the system requires 2 keys. Royal blood and human DNA. She designed it for both worlds. Elias stared at her, half smiling. Guess it's a good thing we're stuck together now. They both touched the glowing control crystal. It flared with light. The ground shook as the floor split open, revealing a deep shaft with blinding blue light below. The Queen's voice echoed faintly, like a whisper carried by stars. If you still breathe, my child, rise. The light wrapped around them, lifting them gently as the ancient starship began to awaken. Elias looked down at his hand, the silver mark from their shared blood still glowing faintly. He whispered, I guess this is what promises are for. Lyra looked at him, eyes full of awe and quiet sadness. No, Elias. This is what destiny feels like. Above them, the old palace shook apart. But beneath, the buried ship roared to life. Beneath the palace ruins. Stone cracked, dust rose, and deep below, a sleeping giant began to wake. Elias shielded his eyes as a burst of blue light erupted from the floor. Metal walls unfolded like flower petals, revealing a massive starship buried beneath the heart of the palace. Silent for centuries, yet alive once more. Lyra stood at the edge of the platform, her silver hair glowing in the reflected light. The ancient ship shimmered with golden veins like it was breathing. It's my mother's flagship, she whispered. The Aurelia. She said it would wake only when the true heir stood before it. Elias looked around, still holding his rifle. And when a bunch of enemies are shooting at us, he muttered. She smiled faintly. That too. The ground trembled again as the huge doors of the buried hangar opened. Air hissed out, stale but full of power. For the first time in years, the heart of the alien empire was beating again. A voice echoed through the chamber. Soft at first, then strong. Designation confirmed. Royal signature detected. Human genetic code recognized. Elias froze. That voice? Lyra looked up. It's her. My mother's AI. The hologram flickered to life above them, tall, graceful, with eyes that shimmered like silver fire. The alien queen's likeness stood there, both ghost and goddess. Lyra, my daughter, the Queen's voice said, you are alive. Lyra fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Mother? The hologram smiled sadly. I am not her, and only what she left behind. But her love is still here in every line of code. Elias stood back, giving them space. The Queen's projection turned toward him. And you, human soldier? You kept your promise. He bowed his head slightly. Ma'am, I tried. You did more than try, the Queen said softly. You carried our future when no one else would. Lyra looked up at the hologram. Mother, the hunters, they destroyed the palace. They're still coming. The AI nodded. Yes, they want the ship. But Aurelia will fly again if you reach the command bridge. Take the human with you. His blood completes the bond. Elias raised an eyebrow. My blood? The Queen's hologram looked directly at him. The alliance I dreamed of between human courage and alien wisdom lives in you both. The ship was designed to respond to unity. Alone it will not fly. Lyra placed her hand on his. Then we'll fly together. Before they could move, the chamber shook violently. From the upper tunnels, light flashed, red and violent. The hunters had broken through again. Elias cursed under his breath. They never quit. He pulled Lyra behind a steel pillar as plasma shots rained down. The Queen's hologram flickered but stayed stable. You must reach the bridge, she said urgently. Follow the core lights. They will guide you. Elias nodded. Let's move. They ran down the ramp, through the giant ship's open belly. The corridors glowed gold and blue, waking after centuries of silence. Symbols lit up along the walls, leading them forward like stars in a tunnel. Behind them, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed. The hunters were closing in. Lyra stumbled, still weak from exhaustion. Elias caught her arm, pulling her up. You okay? She nodded quickly. Go, I can keep up. As they reached the main chamber, they saw it. the Queen's throne built into the ship's command chair. Above it floated a crystal heart, pulsing with white fire. "Insert the royal mark," said the Queen's voice. "Then the ship will awaken." Lyra pressed her palm against the glowing crystal. A beam of light rose from the floor surrounding her. Her markings glowed across her skin, delicate shining lines that told her royal bloodline story. Elias watched in awe. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. Suddenly the Queen's hologram flickered again. "Warning, external breach detected. Time remaining, 1 minute." Elias turned to the entrance. The hunters were here. Plasma bolts blasted against the metal walls. Sparks flew. He shouted, "Lyra, it's now or never!" She looked back, her voice trembling but firm. "The system needs a second code. Yours." He blinked. "Mine? Yes, your blood. My mother designed it that way. 2 worlds, 1 command." He didn't hesitate. He tore off his glove, pressed his bleeding hand against the crystal beside hers. The light exploded, blinding white. "Command link complete," the Queen's voice said calmly. "Pilot system active." "Welcome, human." The ship came alive, engines roaring like a rising storm. Blue fire ran across the walls, lighting every hall. The hunters stumbled back, blinded. One of them screamed, "The ship's waking, stop them!" Elias grabbed his rifle and turned toward them, firing without pause. Every shot echoed through the massive chamber. He hit 3. The rest fell back as the ground split open beneath them. Lyra stood in the light, tears shining in her eyes. "Mother, we're ready." The Queen's voice softened. "Then fly, my child." The stars remember your name. The ship's core blazed brighter. The entire hangar began to collapse around them. Elias helped Lyra into the pilot's seat. The Queen's AI shimmered above them one last time. "But remember, when the engines ignite, no one can stay behind." Elias froze. He looked at the flames swallowing the lower levels, at the hunters still firing from the shadows. Then he smiled sadly. "Guess I'm not much of a passenger." Lyra turned to him, panic in her voice. "What are you saying?" He squeezed her hand gently. "Get to the stars, princess. Finish what your mother started." "No," she shouted. "You swore we'd live together." He smiled, eyes warm. "Promises don't die, even if I do." The Queen's voice whispered, almost like a prayer. "He carries the light, my child. Let him burn for you." The engines roared. The ship began to rise. Elias stepped back from the platform as the door sealed shut between them. Lyra's last sight of him was his silhouette, standing in the firelight, rifle in hand, watching her escape. The Aurelia burst through the ruins in a column of blue flame, rising toward the clouds. Below, the palace crumbled, and 1 human stayed behind. The palace burned like a dying sun. Flames climbed its silver towers. Walls cracked and fell, screaming in metal and stone. And in the middle of the chaos, Elias stood alone. The ship Aurelia had already broken free, rising through clouds like a blue star being born. Its light covered the night sky. From the ground it looked almost peaceful, but peace had never been free. Elias stood at the gate, the last standing archway of the alien queen's palace. His rifle hung from one hand, smoking. His armor was broken, one side of his face burned, but his eyes were calm, cold, and alive. He watched the ship disappear into the stars. A small smile touched his lips. "She made it," he whispered. Then he turned. Behind him the ruins shook again. The hunter leader stepped out of the fire. Armor cracked, one mechanical wing gone, but still breathing. His eyes burned red through the broken mask. "So," the hunter said, voice rough. "The loyal human stayed behind after all." Elias raised his rifle slowly. "Yeah, someone had to lock the gate." The hunter laughed, blood dripping down his jaw. "You think you can stop me? You're just 1 man." Elias checked the weapons chamber. 2 bullets left. He smiled faintly. "That's 1 more than I need." They charged. The hunter swung a blade arm. Elias ducked, firing once. The shot ripped through the hunter's leg and sparks burst. The second shot hit the creature's shoulder, spinning him backward into a broken pillar. Elias dropped the empty rifle and pulled a knife from his belt. "Let's finish this the old way," the hunter roared, rushing forward. They collided in a flash of fire and metal. The impact sent dust and ash flying. Fists, blades, blood, and rage. 2 warriors from 2 worlds locked in silence except for the sound of steel. Elias dodged a final strike and drove his knife deep into the hunter's chest. The creature staggered, choking. "You," the hunter hissed. "You fought like one of us." Elias pulled the knife free. No, I fought like a human. The hunter fell. For a moment there was only the sound of distant thunder, the last echoes of battle fading away. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing hard. His body trembled, but his eyes stayed fixed on the sky where Aurelia had vanished. He touched the mark on his palm, the faint silver scar from the blood oath. It glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat, somewhere far above. That same glow pulsed in Lyra's hand too. Aboard the Aurelia, Lyra sat alone in the command seat, staring at the empty space where the planet used to shine. Her tears floated weightless, catching the glow of the ship's lights. She whispered his name. Elias. The Queen's hologram appeared beside her, faint now, flickering. He chose his place, my child, the Queen said softly. He stayed so you could live. Lyra's hands clenched. He shouldn't have. He was part of our future. He is your future, the Queen replied. The human spirit does not fade when the body dies. It becomes legend. Lyra bowed her head. The AI gently faded, leaving her alone with the stars. She opened her palm. The blood oath mark still glowed faintly. You said we'd live together. She whispered, voice breaking. Then I'll live enough for both of us. Back on the ruins, Elias crawled toward the edge of the broken courtyard. The world shook beneath him. The palace reactor was reaching overload. He looked around. The gate, the same one he had sworn to guard, now glowed bright red, its energy core ready to collapse. He pulled a small device from his pocket, the last thing Lyra had given him. A control crystal. It linked him to the Queen's heart. He smiled weakly. Guess it's my turn to keep you safe, Princess. He pressed the crystal against the floor. The ground responded with light. The palace core surged, energy racing through every wall and tower. Above, a blinding beam of light shot into the sky, a signal, not of surrender, but of farewell. Elias sat back, exhausted. His body burned, his vision blurred. He could feel the blood oath pulsing one last time, Lyra's heartbeat across the stars. He looked up at the night sky. You're free now, he murmured. That's enough for me. The ground split beneath him. Flames swallowed the gate, and then silence. Weeks later, somewhere in the orbit of a quiet blue star, Aurelia drifted silently. Its silver hull gleamed like a new dawn.